So welcome to this little video of my newly acquired summer cottage / holiday home on Langeland, an island in Denmark. We bought this house at the end of 2024, much to our own surprise. I never saw myself as somebody who owns a holiday home. But there you go. Sometimes life gives you some surprises, and it's an experiment. We don't know how we're going to feel about this in a year or two, so let's just see how it goes. Sometimes you need to do the unexpected, and we can always sell it again, I think. It's kind of a tiny house. I think it, to me, it looks like a tiny house, and I want to give you a little tour of it. And also, I recorded some footage from the trip up here. And when I say up here, it's actually down. It's down from where I live to Svendborg, and then it's over on two little islands, Siu and Tåsinge. Then you drive across the third bridge to Langeland, and from then on, it's pretty idyllic, I think. So I recorded some of that trip for you. If you don't want to see that, you can just skip ahead. There will be chapters, I think. But for me, the trip begins when I cross the bridge to Langeland, especially when I take a detour to this town that's closest by where we live called Lohals. So I hope you'll enjoy it, and thank you so much for tuning in. Here I am crossing the last bridge across to Langeland, or as it's sometimes referred to, Long Island. All in all, it takes me almost an hour and a half to drive down there, so this is just a small snippet of the drive. The first bit is an uneventful segment of freeway, and so I love it once I get to the small country roads on the islets, especially as we move through the little towns strewn along the route. The road from north to south on Langeland is about 60 kilometers long, and it's only 10 kilometers wide where it's widest, hence its name. All in all, the island has about 12,000 inhabitants. When we first drove down to take a look at the house, we had no idea what awaited us. We had only ever been to the southern part of the island once. And we were so pleasantly surprised to discover that, unlike most urban environments in Denmark, time on Langeland has to a large extent stood still. We found it charming and laid back, but also wonderfully hilly in many places, unlike most of Denmark. I later discovered that the hills were created during the Ice Age. Add to that a long coastline with sandy beaches, as well as a lot of forests, mainly with beech trees, but also many other kinds of trees, especially up at our end of the island. It feels like a haven just to drive through all this en route to our house at the very northern tip. When we've had an electrician or any other kind of handyman out to fix something, it takes weeks for them to send the bill. At one point, we called one of them to ask about it, and he said, "Oh, we're not in a hurry here on Langeland," a trait we've really come to appreciate. There also isn't much traffic on the island, and it only got its first traffic light last year at around the time we visited. The stress I often feel when driving on freeways or other roads where we're all in a hurry is non-existent on this drive. In fact, it's calming, almost meditative. It sometimes reminds me of southern England, another of my favorite places. The lilacs were in bloom when I recorded this bit at the end of May. I only wish I'd noticed my not altogether clean windscreen a bit sooner. When we first drove through the town of Tranekær, we were amazed. Unfortunately, you can't see the full panorama with just the focus on the road ahead. But this little town, or village, it has only 200 inhabitants, stood out to us. The lampposts look like something out of Narnia. The road through the town is lined with old houses, nothing modern to see here. And at the farthest end is a small castle dating back to the 13th century, complete with a moat, castle gardens, and an avenue of trees that follows you out of the town. I marvel at this little gem of a place every time. By the way, when it says 40 on traffic signs to indicate the speed limit through many of the small towns, that's of course 40 kilometers, or about 25 miles. From then on, the road takes you through two very quiet villages, and then the small town of Snude, made semi-famous in Denmark when a TV celebrity bought a house there that she renovated for a TV program, and which you can see from the road. At least you could until everything bloomed. After Snude, it's a 10-minute drive to the house, and the road becomes even narrower. I'm not blind to the fact that it's an immense privilege to own a holiday home. It comes with a lot of challenges, of course, like most ventures. But for now, I try to practice feeling gratitude to be able to take them on. I also love being part of a smaller community from time to time now, and to be able to support it. If we don't shop in the local supermarkets and go to the local cafes, galleries, and other places that are open in the summer, they might not survive. The final town that we drive through is Lohals, which is where the nearest baker and supermarket can be found. Also a couple of cafes and restaurants that are open during the summer. It's a lovely, quaint little town with around 500 inhabitants, but lots more people arrive during the summer. Once we're out of Lohals, it's just another 5 kilometers to our tiny summer cottage. That part of the drive is through several of the before mentioned beech woods, which look especially lovely in the late spring. As we moved into the warmer months, we began seeing lots of holiday makers on bikes or in campers, in and around Lohals and in other areas. Especially Germans, but also Swedes and people from the Netherlands and, interestingly, Copenhagen. Langeland seems to be the kind of place that's somewhere between a backwater and a refuge. And I get the feeling that more and more city people are drawn to that kind of place. Me included. A small island getaway. Our house was built in 1947 and has undergone a lot of renovations within the last 3 years. It's actually one of the newer houses in the area, which was first established in 1919. Our house is made of bricks, whereas most of the wooden houses in the area were built in 1919 or in the 1920s, many of them with the same black wood and white window frames and doors. There are also trees wherever you look, which was one of the things that drew me to the place, in addition to the proximity of the sea. Sometimes it's so quiet there that all you can hear are the many, many birds, some of which we don't have at home. It's really the outside of the house that's the biggest attraction. The huge deck with the many little nooks where you can sit and relax. The quiet, the trees, the shrubs, the lovely house across the path. The inside is smaller than what it looks like from the outside, which is why I refer to it as a tiny house. But it's simple and cozy. The bedrooms are tiny, and there's an oven that we definitely have to turn on during the winter. We're also having additional heating installed, also to keep the house warm when we're not there. This is what it looked like back in January. There was a certain ambience outside, with the mist and the trees, the emptiness, the squawk of pheasants. It wasn't unpleasant to be there, but it was cold. The first time we were there, we hadn't yet gotten the wood pellet stove to work, and we were freezing inside the house. It was actually warmer outside. When we did get the stove up and running, it became bearable, but we began longing for the warmer months. And here we are now. Let me show you the inside of the house. It's about 73 square meters in all, not sure how much that is in feet. And then there's a little annex behind the main house that I forgot to film in. It takes me exactly 2 minutes to walk from our garage down to the sea. There are lots of little paths around the various cottages, and I enjoy looking at all the houses and how the trees and gardens have bloomed since we first bought the house back in December last year. The beach is never crowded, although it was particularly quiet on the Tuesday that I recorded. In fact, I was the only person there. How many places in the world can you say that? On clear days you can see Storebæltsbroen, the bridge that connects the island of Funen to the island of Zealand that Copenhagen is located on. There was a fresh breeze that day, but it was still fairly calm. Around Easter they put up the little jetty that you can walk out on to bathe in the sea, which we did for the first time a few weeks after I was there that day. The water was freezing, but we walked on soft sand and were still the only people there. Back in April we were there when it was really windy. The waves were crashing against the shore, and we saw why they put away the jetty during the winter. We've only just begun exploring the island and the area around the house, and it'll be interesting to see what the summer brings on this little island in southern Denmark.